Welcome back to TWC Projects. Today we are working on the Bobcat. I brought it home to fix a couple things on it, and you saw in a recent video where I fixed the bob attachment loader. The hydraulic seals were leaking, so that's been fixed. The other reason I brought it home was to try to fix the air conditioning. That's going to be a little trickier, and you know, it really helps. I've talked about this all the time, but having the right manual for this stuff is pretty critically important. So I wanted to show you how they do a good job of giving you some troubleshooting steps. And so we're going to follow some of these today, but I'll tell you basically what they are. Essentially, we're going to look at the connections, and there's a nice little table in here. Where is it? Right here. It kind of shows you the different troubleshooting steps, but you still need to see the details of them and where they are and so forth. So the book gives you a better rundown of that. But the AC switches on, the light comes on. And I know all the heat works fine. It's just the AC, and one of the troubleshooting tips in the book said to turn the key to the on position. Don't start it, but just turn it to the on position. And then as soon as you engage that AC switch, you should hear the clutch engage. There's no engagement sound. I'm pretty sure the clutch is not engaging. So verified already that the fuse is good, so it's not a fuse issue. In fact, I think if the fuse is blown, the little light wouldn't even come on the switch. So the next thing we're going to do is go through and check a bunch of the wiring. So we're going to look at the compressor right behind here. We got to pull this panel off, and there's going to be a connection in there for the compressor itself. So I should be getting 12 volts on that, and there should be resistance coming from the compressor itself. If not, then the clutch is bad. And if the clutch is bad, there's a whole rebuild process, but we're not going to do that because that's just a nightmare. Instead, we're going to probably just replace the whole, because you have to still pull the whole compressor. Everything has to come off, and you got to take it out, and it's just a massive effort to get a new clutch on it. So I'll just buy a whole new compressor. I found one on eBay for about $250. So that isn't the bad part. Well, it'll be hard. Let me show you where that thing is. It'll be a lot of work because everything in these are so compact and difficult to get to. The compressor is back here. That unit right there. And you can see this belt is going to it. And so to get to that, it's just a massive endeavor. And if you got to take that all off to pull out the clutch, well, then you might as well replace the whole compressor unit and everything. But if you're gonna, because you got to take it out. When you take it out, you got to back up all the freon or the coolant basically out of the lines. So you need a tank and a pump for that, so that you can pull that out first. Then disconnect the lines to pull the whole compressor out. So it's a massive effort. I probably won't end up doing that while this is home now, because I need it back up at Bear Ridge, but at least I'll be able to order the parts and the things I need for the next time I can bring it home. So today will just be diagnostics. This video will really just be checking the electrical, because I'm really hoping that it's one of the switches in line. So there's a few different switches that they show in different locations in the wiring that you can check. So we're going to do that, starting with, like I said, right on the compressor itself. There's a switch. A connection. And we want to check to the compressor to see if there's any resistance. There should be resistance there. And then see if we're getting 12 volts when this, everything's turned on, like I talked about a moment ago. If that is good, we'll put that back together. And then we'll come over here and we'll look at the pressure switch, which sits right up here on the reserve tank. And so we'll look at that and again see, is there resistance, and are we getting 12 volts from the line in? If that's good, we'll put that back together, and we'll go to the thermostat wiring connection and do the same thing there. We'll check if that has 12 volts coming in and any resistance going to the switch. And I think it even tells you here the exact amount. Should be 10 ohms, it says right there, at least at 68 degrees. Well, today it's like 35, 37 right now. So anyway, that's as far as we're going to get. We're not going to do the rest. The rest is about the blower, and I know all that stuff works. So fingers crossed that this is just one of those switches in line in the wiring that's an issue and not the compressor itself. Wouldn't be surprised if it's compressor, because I imagine that's probably the original one, and this thing is over 20 years old. The other thing it said in the book, which was interesting, it said at least once a week you should run the air conditioner for 5 minutes just to make sure that the oil in the system itself is circulating and keeping everything lubricated, because there's actually, in the coolant itself, there's a certain amount of oil that lubricates everything. There's no other place where you add in oil or grease or anything. So that's how it keeps all the mechanical part of the air conditioning working fine, and it's a closed system. So I'm sure that wasn't done as well. I mean, this thing sat, I don't know how long it sat before I got it, and of course I don't use it all the time. I try to use it a lot, but I never run the air conditioning because it doesn't work. So anyway, enough said. I'm going to try to dig in and start pulling this apart. I'll show you what I'm doing as I go along, but this will probably, hopefully, be a short video. It'll be my talking only because I wanted to explain what I'm doing. The rest will be kind of confusing, but we'll try to pull it apart so you can at least see how that works if you are going to take this kind of product on. So, all right, let's get started. All right, so as you just saw, we got into the where the compressor is hooked up, and we put a multimeter on the compressor end itself, and it says if there is no resistance value, then replace the compressor clutch. Well, the good news is there was resistance value. It was 5 ohms of resistance. Hopefully that's enough. So then we also checked this, the input, and you're supposed to read 12 volts, and I did not get 12 volts. So that means it's most likely not this stuff, unless it's, let's see, I guess we should check the continuity. It says here, disconnect the loader harness from the pressure switch using the multimeter, check the harness to see if there's 12 volts. So next we're going to see if we've got 12 volts coming into this harness. So we've got to lift the whole cab to do that, and then if it does not have 12 volts, then we'll keep going back further until we figure out where the break is in the power that should be coming through to engage the clutch on the compressor. Not to say the compressor isn't bad, it could be still, but at least the clutch does show that it has some resistance, which is supposed to be good. So let's keep going. So I think that's good news. Good news in that I'm getting 0 ohms on that resistance on this, and I should get, I think, between 3.5 and 5. But I am getting voltage through here. It says 10, but that might just be the battery could be kind of low at this point, and I keep turning it on and leaving it on. So, but as you saw, I kind of hooked up to the source, and I wound it around here just so that it didn't get pulled out when the cab came down. The book tells you to use a remote starter controls, but I don't have one of those, and they're like $700. So I just used a piece of wire and closed the cab down, a little extra work, but so I think that's a good sign. Yeah, there was 5 volts, and then, oh, excuse me, there was almost 12 volts. And then, so it says if there is voltage in the harness, which there was, check the resistance of the pressure switch. And if there's no resistance value, then check for low refrigerant levels. So I don't know how to do that, but that's probably be the next thing. So it's either low refrigerant or that sensor's bad. And I can, their sensor's a lot easier to replace and a lot less expensive than a compressor and a clutch. So if resistance value is seen, the pressure switch is good. So I have a feeling the pressure switch is bad, and I probably may just replace that depending on what it costs. And what I wasn't sure was, can I change the switch without having to evacuate the entire AC coolant? And I think I got the answer from my awesome book. It says right here, note, the pressure switch can be changed without evacuating the AC system. And I believe it's because there's like a little valve in there that as soon as I start to unscrew it, it closes that valve so that it doesn't leak out all the fluid. So I think we can remove the pressure switch and order another one. Anyway, I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and order that, and then I guess I'll pick this video right back up once that part comes in. We'll switch it out, try everything again. Boy, that'd be nice if it was that simple. It would be really nice, but who knows if that compressor is any good still. Just because the clutch gave me some resistance doesn't mean that that the thing hasn't run, and so who knows how long. It's never run since I've had it, so could have been 10 years, could have been 5, could have been a long time. So, all right, let's stop here and we'll pick up again as soon as the part comes in. Next. Weeks later from where I left off the last part of this video, because I needed to order a few things, including the new pressure sensor switch, which I got in, and also the pressure gauges, so that we can kind of see if we've even got any pressure in the line. And if we don't, I'm not sure the full extent to what I'm going to try to do, but I do have a couple cans of the R134A and a vacuum pump, and that was all part of the kit that I got. There's also a leak tester, detector, and of course the hoses and gauges. So we're going to do that now. And one thing I did when I first received this part was I tested it for resistance, and there is none, but that may be okay because it's not connected up yet, and the resistance may be based on the pressure. So we'll see if there's pressure in the lines and go from there. I don't know. I'm learning as I go along. I'll tell you, this AC work is far more complicated than I thought. I spent a lot of time doing research and studying on this a little bit, so hopefully I've got it right, but I don't know. It definitely is not like a lot of the other things on the machine. AC is a bit different, so the air conditioning, coolant. So anyway, let's get back to it.
swapped out the switch, it didn't make any difference, and I can see why now, because on the high side, oops, I'm getting in the light, there is no pressure at all. And on the low side, there's only like 2 or 3 pounds, and it should be probably closer to 25 to 30 at the temperature. We're like almost 50 degrees now. So clearly it's low on coolant. So the process gets a little bit more complicated now, because what I should be doing is first doing reclamation, where I have a separate machine that draws everything out of the system that's in it now, and then I weigh, because there's supposed to be exactly 2 pounds of this R134A coolant liquid. So anyway, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do next, and then I'll tell you what I did. All right, so we got pressure now in our system, but once the pressure got high enough, the clutch kicked in on the pump, and then it started smoking and squealing and burning the belt, I think. So I think the pump is frozen. I'm going to see if I can get in there manually, turn a little bit to see if it isn't just that the belt is too loose. But if I can't turn that thing, if it's not free enough to turn, then we're going to have to give up on this project, which is a shame, because I just dumped a bunch of money into trying to get us partway there. But it'll have to be, if I am going to do it, I'm going to have to do it another day, because I don't even know how you pull that pump off. I think you probably have to pull the motor out. I don't know, unless there's a way to get to it from this side, but I don't think so with all these hoses and everything in here, because that pump is right in here. So let's pull the cover. Ooh, it smells. You can smell that rubber right now. Let's pull that cover off and just see if that thing will turn at all, and why that started smoking like that. But it's clear that once we get enough pressure on here, then the clutch engaged, and when it engaged, that's when I started having problems. So this whole system probably hasn't, who knows, I mean, the thing's over 20 years old. Who knows when it last worked. So I might be fighting a losing battle, but I'll go a little bit further. I've gotten this far. All right, that's a wrap. Not the success I wanted. A lot of different issues going on there, but basically I was able to put some Freon into the lines, and then the compressor, I don't know what happened, but it basically seized up long enough, or like it was smoking the belt. So at this point, I've taken the belt off completely, and because I need to use the machine, and I'll have to just bring it back down here in the summertime. Now that I've got some of the gear for the air conditioning, I've got to probably get the reclamation pump and a tank and pull out what's in there. And I don't know if I'm gonna have to replace the actual compressor itself. I don't even know how I'm gonna do it. I barely could get it loose to move it, say nothing of take the whole thing off and unhook the lines. And so I don't know what's going to happen with that, but hopefully this video is still good for troubleshooting some of the electrical stuff. That still all makes sense. It all works. I didn't solve the problem, but I did get a lot closer. So anyway, you'll see it again in a future video at some point. I'm eager now, though, to get back up to Bear Ridge and start cleaning up the mess I just made in the last 2 videos. So that'll be the next thing that you'll see after this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for helping me create things, fix things, and enjoy God's amazing creation outside and inside at this point. Until next time, have a fantastic week, and I will see you on the next project.